The shooting menu on the Canon Rebel T4i or 650D is where you set many of your options that are directly related to recording your image, like the quality and size of the image and how the colors are rendered. It is broken into 4 sections, 3 for viewfinder shooting and 1 for live view shooting. Let's take a look at each item in each section and get to know what each is for. Once you press the menu button, you see all of your menu sections along the top of the screen. The first 3 items, which look like the front of the camera, are for viewfinder shooting and get highlighted in red as you pass over them. They each have dots by them to denote which section of the shooting menu it is. The 4th item looks like the back of the camera. It still gets highlighted in red. It's for live view shooting. Let's go to shooting 1. The first menu item is image quality. You press set and can see your options. Here you are controlling your image quality and size. You have the option to shoot in JPEG or RAW or both. Let's start with the JPEG options. With most of these, you have a symbol and a letter. Let's start with a letter. L means high quality, M means medium quality, and S means low quality. Within each of these, you have different compression settings, the symbol. The shark fin looking symbol will provide you with a higher image quality than the stairs symbol. You may notice that S2 and S3 don't have the symbol. They both have the higher quality compression settings. Then you have RAW plus the highest quality JPEG file, where the camera is going to write one of each to the card. And last, you have RAW only. You highlight the option you want and press set. So you've got file types, image quality, and compression settings. Why would you use one over the other? The RAW versus JPEG debate is legendary, so I won't be getting into it in this video. However, the quality and compression settings are another story. You may have noticed that while I was scrolling through the settings, the gray bar over your options changed to show the option that you were hovering over, as well as a bunch of numbers. Those numbers tell you the pixel count and the number of shots available in that quality setting on the card and the camera at that time. The higher the quality of your image, the larger it is, and the fewer that will fit on your card. Additionally, the size and quality of your image affects how many photos you can take in a single burst. The higher the quality of your image, the fewer photos you will be able to take in one burst. Sometimes the quality of the image is what you'll be concerned about. Sometimes the size or burst capacity will be more important to you. It all depends on the situation. The next option is beep, where you can prevent the camera from beeping when it finds focus. You have 3 options: enable, touch to silence. This silences the beep only during touchscreen operations, but it will still sound when in self-timer. And disable. This is one of the first things I do when I get a new camera. I disable the beep. Your next option is release shutter without card. If you forget to put a memory card in the camera, do you want the shutter to still release? If so, choose enable. If not, choose disable. Next is image review. You can choose how long the image will appear on the LCD screen after you take it. You can choose off, which is handy when you're trying to save battery life and don't really need to look at each image after you're taking it. 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 8 seconds, or hold, where the image will be displayed until the camera powers off automatically. I talk about auto power off in my video on the setup menu. Lens aberration correction. When you press set, you will see the lens you have on the camera at the top of the screen and 2 options at the bottom: peripheral illumination and chromatic aberration. Peripheral illumination corrects vignetting, and chromatic aberration prevents color fringing along the line between light and dark. On both of these, you can enable to allow the camera to correct these things, or disable to have it do nothing. Next is red eye reduction. You again have 2 options here: enable and disable. If you choose enable, the red eye reduction lamp on the front of the camera will light up when needed to prevent or at least reduce red eye in low light conditions when you're using flash. This option isn't available in certain shooting modes though. If you are in flash off mode, landscape mode, sports mode, or HDR backlight control, the red eye lamp will not fire. The last option in this section is flash control. There is a lot here, but this option is not displayed when you are in basic zones mode. This is where you can set the pop-up flash and external speed lights in the EX series. You have several options here. First is flash firing, where you can disable the pop-up or speed light entirely. This is handy if you want to use the flash's autofocus assist beam capability, but not the flash itself. Next is ETTL2 meter, where you choose your flash metering mode, either evaluative, which is good in most situations, or average. Flash sync speed and aperture priority mode, where you can set the flash sync speed. You have 3 options: auto, 1/200th to 1/60th of a second auto, and 1/200th of a second, fixed. Built-in flash settings, where you set up the pop-up flash, either normal firing or one of the 2 wireless options for when you're using the pop-up to trigger an off-camera speed light. Flash mode is only available when you choose custom wireless for built-in flash. Then shutter sync, where you choose first curtain or second curtain. and flash exposure compensation. You can choose from -2 up to +2 in 1/3 stop increments. The next two are external flash function setting and external flash custom function setting. These two sections will depend upon the speed light you have on the camera. Now for the next section of the shooting menu, Shooting 2. This entire menu will not be available to you if you are in the basic zone modes. It won't even appear. The first item here is exposure compensation / auto exposure bracketing. Here you can first use your left and right cross keys to choose your exposure compensation. You have from -5 to +5 in 1/3 stop increments. Then you can turn your main dial to choose your auto exposure bracketing range. Next is Auto Lighting Optimizer, where you can have the camera correct the brightness and contrast of an image automatically. You can choose the level of correction, low, standard, high, and off. Then you can press the Info button to check the box to disable Auto Lighting Optimizer when in manual mode. In Custom White Balance, you can create a custom white balance setting for your light source. This is handy when none of the existing white balance options is giving you a natural look. To begin setting a custom white balance, you must take a photo of a plain white object, such as a white piece of computer paper or a gray card, being lit by the light that you are looking to set for. Then you press Set in the menu here to choose that image and press the Set button again. Now the custom white balance is in the custom white balance slot. You can use it when you choose custom white balance in the white balance options. White balance shift / bracketing is next. Here you can adjust the white balance on this graph by moving the point around with the cross keys. Then you can use the main dial to choose bracketing. When you've made your choices, press Set. Now for color space, where you have two choices, sRGB and Adobe RGB. Picture style changes the characteristics of your photo, like color, sharpness, and contrast. You have Auto, where the camera will make a decision for you, Standard, which is an all-purpose style, Portrait, which is good for portraits, Landscape, good for landscapes because it brings out the blues and greens, Neutral, which produces natural tones and is good for photos that will be processed later, Faithful, which is similar to Neutral but is for photos where the color temperature was under 5200 Kelvin, Monochrome, which creates black and white images. In this one, remember that if you are shooting in RAW, your image's color information will be written in the file, but for JPEGs, you will not be able to retrieve the color information. And user-defined 1, 2, and 3. If you press the Info button here, you can set the characteristics of each of these user-defined white balance options. And metering mode. Here you choose between evaluative metering, partial metering, spot metering, and center-weighted average metering. You can also set this in the quick control screen. Now for the next shooting menu section, Shooting 3. Just like Shooting 2, this is only available when you are not in the basic zone modes. The first option is Dust Delete Data. This option is for use with Digital Photo Professional and can help erase dust spots from your images that remain on the sensor after normal cleaning. Next is ISO Auto. If you do not want to set your ISO sensitivity manually, you can choose this to have the camera automatically figure out what ISO number you should use with each shot. You have options though, where you choose a maximum ISO sensitivity, 400, 800, 1600, 3200, and 6400. Long exposure noise reduction can reduce noise in shots exposed for 1 second or longer. You can choose Off, Auto, where the camera will decide if it is necessary to apply, or On, where it will be applied to all photos. The last one here is High ISO Speed Noise Reduction. This will reduce the noise in each image. Your options are Disable, Low, Standard, High, and Multi-Shot Noise Reduction. In multi-shot, the camera takes 4 shots in a burst and merges them into a single JPEG, further reducing the noise. And now for the Live View shooting menu. First, you can enable or disable Live View shooting. Next, you choose the autofocus method. Face tracking, where it's going to find faces and focus on them. Flexi Zone Multi, where the maximum number of autofocus points will be used to focus, the camera will choose for you. Flexi Zone Single, where you choose the autofocus point yourself. And Quick Mode, where only 9 autofocus points are available, but you can either choose the autofocus point manually or have the camera choose for you. Next is Continuous Autofocus. When Enable is chosen, the camera will constantly focus on the subject while in live view. Touch Shutter is next. If you choose Enable here, you can focus and take photos by tapping the LCD screen. Grid Display, when on to Grid 1 or Grid 2, will display a grid on your LCD screen. Aspect Ratio is next, where you can choose the aspect ratio of your live view screen. When shooting in RAW though, it will always be saved at the 3:2 ratio, though it will appear on screen in the selected ratio. This option is not available in the basic zone modes. Metering Timer is last. You choose how long the exposure is shown on screen. In the basic zone modes, you can't configure this option. You are fixed at 16 seconds. That's it for the shooting menu. I still have the playback, setup, and my menus to walk you through. Be on the lookout for those videos soon.